Hi, welcome back. I am so excited to bake with you today. Today we are doing what is for our family a forgotten favorite of English muffins. We used to eat them all the time before we knew about real flour, good flour, alive flour. When our oldest Audrey had to go gluten-free and we were buying all the gluten-free products before we knew about good bread, her favorite thing to get, she would have it every day. She'd have 3 a day if she could, but they were kind of pricey, so she couldn't. She always wanted English muffins. And then I learned about real bread and started making everything. And, you know, I started having zero knowledge and nobody I knew made it, so I had to kind of figure out everything by myself. And once I got good with bread, we just had bread, and then we went into dinner rolls and, you know, all the things we baked together. And recently she said, "Hey, remember English muffins?" And I thought, yes, why not try that again? So a little while ago I looked up recipes, and most of the recipes are pretty much the same. I mean, almost identical. And I've watched a British chef make them, and you know, some homesteaders and some you know, regular people, you know, all over, and it was just about the same recipe. So I don't know why I thought there'd be a lot of variance. It seems to be pretty much the same. The difference I found is some people have them very dough-like in balls you could you know, shape in your hand, and some people had almost like a pancake batter that they poured into molds and made. So I tried a few different things and came up with what we like, the consistency we like. I learned the ones that are like dough that you shape in your hands, you bake. When you pull them apart, it's very much like a bread texture. It lacked nooks and crannies. You know, when you think of English muffins, you want those hills and valleys, or nooks and crannies, whatever y'all call them. And the dough-like ones just didn't have that. It was like cutting into bread, which is good. It's going to taste good, but it's not what you want. And then the very battery ones, I just didn't have great luck with, and I don't want to order 6 or 8 of those round circle forms. You know, it's just more things to have in my kitchen, and kitchen drawer space is a hot commodity here. It doesn't free up very quickly, and the more I learn, the more tools and gadgets I get, and yeah, I don't have a lot of room. So I found a recipe that works for us, that tastes phenomenal and has those nooks and crannies that you know and love. So I am excited to bake with y'all today. I hope that you have a hankering for English muffins also, or at least can learn how to do another fun thing in the kitchen. It's one of those funny things where you just totally forget that this thing exists, and all of a sudden it's just such an exciting thing. Oh, English muffins! Yes! There's this whole world, breakfast sandwiches, lunches, you know, good snacks again. So we've been enjoying it this last month or so as I've been working to make this video for y'all. So I put a lot of work into it, but it was all good work, and no matter what I made, they all tasted very, very good. So I don't think you can really go too wrong. So after all my talking, sorry this video is a little late this week too, because Sunday was Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to everybody out there, and we wanted to just use the weekend to celebrate. So coming to you a little late this week, but I am ready to go and bake with you. This is simple. There's no tricky parts to this. It's a very, very, very loose, wet dough. You're going to look at it when you first get it going and say, this is not going to work. So no worries. Just stick with me and we will get there. The first thing we want to do is heat up 3/4 a cup of milk, a 1/2 cup of water, and 3 tablespoons of butter. I always like to just heat all the liquids, and the butter's going to be a liquid, together in the microwave. You want to use a saucepan, then be my guest. And then we're going to add it to our stand mixer. All right, I'm going to pop this in the microwave till it's around maybe 110 degrees or so. All right, I've mixed all the liquids and heated them to around 110. So most of the recipes call for an envelope of yeast. So that's about somewhere in the 2.5 teaspoon range. So instead of getting out 2.5 teaspoons, you know, I just say 3 teaspoons a tablespoon. So I'll just go a little bit under. If you add a little bit more than what they call for, it's not going to hurt it. It'll make it rise a little bit faster. So I just go under a tablespoon. But if you want to be exact, 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. If you want to use sourdough starter, you absolutely can, and just give a good, maybe 1/8 of a cup of sourdough starter. That should do it. And then we have our liquids, we have our yeast. We like to feed the yeast to get it going, help it activate and foam up. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons. I'm using honey granules, but a granulated sweetener of choice for you. Actually, if you want to use a liquid, it probably won't throw anything off in the recipe. You might just need a little bit extra flour to compensate. So sweetener of your choice, but 2 tablespoons is what I'm using of honey granules. So I'm going to give it a little mix just to get it worked in together. So then while we let this get going and activate, so the recipe, and as we know with our wheat berries and working with our freshly milled flour, ratios ebb and flow. So somewhere between 2 3/4 cup of flour to 3 cups of flour. And then, as I said, this is going to be a really loose dough. When we go to shape it, we're going to need some flour for dusting. So make sure you have, in the end, over 3 cups of flour, just to ensure you have enough. It's hard for me to say 2 3/4 cup exactly of flour because, you know, hot days, cold days, humid days, and how did your wheat grow? Was it a wet year or a dry year? So we just have to be overcomers and know what things should look like and feel like with our hands. And so I will show you what it's supposed to look like. For this, I'm going to use hard white wheat because I kind of want it to resemble the English muffin that I knew before. And the hard red wheat has a beautiful, nutty, rich flavor, and I think that's amazing. But this time I want to just stick with your plain hard white wheat because that's the closest to the flour that we knew before. So this will get you as close to that kind of English muffin. I think they're really actually very similar, so I'm excited about that. So I'm choosing just to use hard white wheat, but please feel free to use any grain that you want to use, and you can play with the flavors all you want because this is a very wonderful recipe that works well with all the grains. All right, this is rested. It's nice and frothy and ready to go. So from this point, I'm going to do overhead angle so you can see, because it just doesn't seem right. It seems too soupy. It seems, you know, not like you think it should. So I want to show you what it looks like so you can compare it and make sure yours works out about the same. So we are going to add a heaping tablespoon of lecithin if you want. This is optional, but when I do anything that needs to rise, this really helps my bread out. So just 1 heaping tablespoon if you choose. And I'm going to start to mix, and I'm going to add 1 cup of flour. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 egg. One egg. And then another cup of flour. And then I'll do the 3/4. And then we're gonna let this mix a little bit. I'm gonna let it knead for about a minute before I decide if I want more flour or not, because we know that it takes freshly milled flour a little while to absorb the liquid. I think I'm gonna add a tablespoon because we're very close to what it should look like. Okay, so this is going to seem totally wrong and totally too loose. We are going to let this knead for at minimum 8 minutes because there is such a small amount of flour in here. We need the kneading to work together to build the gluten in the flour. So we're going to let this knead for 8 minutes and build that gluten up. So set your timers and go do something fun for 8 minutes. Good. All right, this has been 8 minutes and this is just right. It is still incredibly loose, but you can see our gluten at work here, stretching and pulling here. So we're gonna call this wonderful, wonderful dough. Usually I am in the as few as possible dishes camp, but because this is a very sticky, wet dough, we need to really oil up a bowl to let it rise in for an hour. And usually if we have bread dough, we can just pop the dough out, spray it, and put it right back in. There's no way to do that. And you can't really oil while your sticky wet dough is in this bowl. So I'm gonna oil another bowl and just go ahead and wash one extra dish. Be liberal with your oiling here. Don't use flour to coat the sides. The oil is not going to seep in and make it more of a mess, so this is how oily I have my bowl. We want to be able to have this rise in here an hour and then flip it over and come out easily. I don't want to have to move the dough around too much to get it to come out. So we want to save ourselves trouble ahead of time, really oil now, so that all we need to do is flop it over and have it come out. We want to keep the air that is built up in there while it was rising for an hour and not mess with it too much. So oil now. Now, if you're using an ankestrum, I did frequently come by and move the bar arm in to get the middle bit, because it's not quite a dough ball, you know. It'll miss some of the spots in the middle. So I just walked by, moved the arm, did dishes, walked by, moved the arm for the 8 minutes that it needed. Yeah. I try and scrape down the sides. I don't like to waste anything ever, so I'm trying to get every little bit. I think these little bendable scrapers are worth their weight in gold. Okay, I'm just gonna go a little bit of oil, and then we're gonna cover it up. Now, you have a choice. At this point, you can cover it really well, maybe with some like press and seal or saran wrap or something. You can put it in the fridge and not worry about it, leave it overnight, and then in the morning, about a half hour, 20 minutes before you want to cook them, you can pull them out and let them finish rising then, and you can have fresh English muffins in the morning because they're really quick to cook. So that is an option to do. I love to prep something for the morning so it's just all fresh and ready to go. If you have guests that are visiting, to have that for them. Also, I forgot to say, when you're mixing your dough, you can choose any flavor of English muffin you want. If you want cinnamon raisin, add, you know, a 3/4 cup of raisins and some extra sugar, some cinnamon, or whatever flavor of English muffin you like. There's lots of them out there. You can replicate it. Now that you know what the dough should look like, you know, if you're adding a bit more stiffer ingredients, then maybe increase your water or milk. If you're adding, you know, just chunks of raisins or cut up apples or something like that, maybe a little bit cooked. You might want to cook the apples a little bit in. You know, just make sure that you have that batter that it looked like before we started the 8-minute kneading. Make sure it looks about that consistency, and they're going to come out great. This recipe really lends itself to a versatility in flavor and ingredients. I love recipes like this that allow it to be used in many different ways, so you can have the same English muffin recipe but different English muffins all the time. So what I'm going to do now is cover this and put it in my oven that has the light on, so it's a little bit warm. We're going to let this rise for about an hour. I'm more worried about doubling in volume, doubling in size than I am about the time, but somewhere around there. We have risen about an hour, doubled in volume. Oh, looks so pretty. All right, now's the fun part. We want to have some cornmeal, because you know on the outside of English muffins there's that nice cornmeal. So I'm going to sprinkle some down on my pan. I'm using my USA pan, so it's non-stick already, but if you're using a regular one, then definitely put some baking parchment down or something. And then some nice cornmeal. Okay, so we have our extra flour. We want to flour a lot. We're going to just kind of plop this right over, and hopefully we put enough oil on there it'll come right out. Look at that, we did a good job. Okay, now, anybody have ring sets like this? I got these at IKEA really affordably. So the end result English muffin is about this big, and you think, oh, well, we're just going to use this size. You're going to be amazed. We're going to cut them out and let them rise for about a half an hour. They get big, they puff quite nicely. So if you use this, you're going to end up having massive sized English muffins, which if that's what you want, go for it. But this is a 3-inch one. I think this is 3.5 inches. So it seems very small, but just realize they're going to get bigger. So what we're going to do is flour the top here, and feel free to liberally flour. Every time we make a cut, we need to flour this also, or it's going to get sticky, and we want to touch this as little as possible. So the more you flour things, the better. Now, we want to kind of push this down till we have an even plane, about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch thick. It's already worked so hard to make big air pockets and bubbles and that gluten stretched. I want to keep that. Okay, so we're going to flour and then just start cutting out and moving them over. almost forgot. Leave a lot of room in between because they're going to get bigger. Try and make these as close together as possible so that at the end we're going to have to kind of squish what's remaining left and you'll end up getting a funny looking English muffin, but that's okay. If you move them over and they squish a little bit, they're going to puff out. Don't worry too much about it. Just try not to flatten them or handle them too much where you're squishing them. See, they're so cute. I didn't flour the counter enough right here and it did stick on the bottom, but that's okay. So now what we have remaining, we're going to try and piece together one here. As much as I can piece it together. So this one is a little bit funny because I had to squish. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 perfect ones. And then now we're going to have the squished together ones that are for you and not for guests. So. Is this one going to be as fluffy? No. But we don't waste, so. And I don't waste anything. I've seen people in their videos just throw this out, but we'll just put it together and have a yummy, funny one. Okay, we have our shaped ones. We have the cornmeal on the bottom. So we're going to sprinkle some cornmeal on the top of each of them. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know what an English muffin looks like, so. Okay, so then we're gonna put these back in our oven that's not hot, just the lights on for warmth. Cover them with something, I'll use my cloth, and then let them rise around 30 minutes. All right, we are gonna move the camera to show you above, but I wanted to talk with you a second. These have risen half an hour. Lovely. And then these were the ones we kind of had to makeshift and push together, and I just kind of squished it down. So they're a little bit bigger, but you know, they're going to taste amazing, and it's just all the ones that I'll eat, not served to others. So, so these are all looking perfect, symmetrical, and they're going to bake the same time on this. So what we want to do is turn your skillet on 5 to 8 minutes pending. Cast iron takes a little bit longer to heat up, but once it does, it keeps the heat pretty even all over the pan. So I heated this up about 8 minutes before these came out so that everything was nice and warm and they're all going to cook evenly. I've had trouble with this little guy, so I thought my cast iron is going to be good convection of everything. So we want to sprinkle onto our preheated pan, not high heat. This is at 2. I just want to feel the warmth. Anything hotter, you're going to burn these, and the middle won't be those like nice fluffy nooks and crannies. You're going to cook it too fast. So we're going to sprinkle on some cornmeal. You don't need to do, it doesn't matter if you use stainless steel or a Dutch oven or, you know, whatever. Sprinkle on a little cornmeal. Add as many on as you want to do at one time. You just need to be able to flip them. And again, we want to be really gentle with them to keep the air inside of it. And then you want to have a cover because that's going to help cook everything evenly, you know, keep the heat in. And we don't just want to cook it from underneath. We kind of want it in a warmth dome, if you will. So we're as gently as can be. Just going to move these over, and then I think I'll just do 3 at a time on this because I'm not sure about this skillet. I usually cook on the oven, but it is impossible to have good lighting over there for y'all. Okay, so I'm going to cover these, and we want to have them on 5 to 6 minutes on the first side, and then when we flip them over, about 4 to 5 minutes. You're going to see in about 5 minutes, check, and the bottom should start looking like what English muffins look like, that kind of golden bottom, and it's just so neat. We're making English muffins. Who would think that you could do it? So we'll let these go about 5 minutes. I'm going to start a timer because I'm such a poor judge of 5 minutes. Okay, and then we'll flip them. All right, so let's check. Ooh! Oh! So technically I think I'd want it to cook a little bit more to get more golden brown, but I've turned that one over, so we'll just go ahead and turn them all over. So I might turn it up to like 2.5. We'll cover this and set our timer for 4 minutes. Okay. So we've done about 5 minutes on this side. Ooh! Look at that. This thing doesn't heat very evenly, but oh, look at that. Amazing. All right, so we'll just call these good. I'm going to put more on, and then I'll show you the middle, because when you grab them, obviously both sides are crisp, and you'd want it a little bit more done than this, but that was my first go around on this thing. So both sides are crisp. So when you squeeze them, you think, oh no, it's not done in the middle, but that's just how they are. So know that it's crispy, and then you squeeze it and it's kind of mushy on the inside, and you think it's not going to be done, but I'll show you. Hang on. Let me get on. Ah. Four. Okay, I'll start my timer. Okay. And you must always open your English muffin with a fork. Do not cut it. I'll be fastidious about that. Can you see it very well? Jeepers. All right. What? Look at those nooks. Look at those crannies. You got an English muffin. A healthy, life-giving flour English muffin. I mean, that's it. That's perfect. That's an English muffin. It's not denser as like a slice of bread would be. It's not goopy. This is perfect to me. And I love to toast them and get them all crispy and put far too much butter on it. But look at that. I am so excited. Anytime we have a new recipe, my daughter's already asking, give it to me, give it to me. Anytime we have a new recipe where we can have such goodness, oh, I am so excited about this. Here, you can have. It smells delicious. It's got that crunch. Oh, it's good. All right, so we're going to continue cooking. Now, this side is good. I would cook this side more, except for I wanted to put more on. But it took me a while with this contraption to get the heat right. All right, second round. You can hear them sliding nicely. So we just, whoo, look at that's better. You just got to find the heat that works on your pan. Not too hot. So it's better to err on the side of, oh, that's good. Under than over, because if you burn them, that's done. See, even I would say that's a little too much, but, oh, okay. Maybe the pan should move this way a bit. And cover for another 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. Ah. It's not too bad. Yep, look at that. And it's soft on the side, so you can make indentations. But you can't hear that. Nice thump of crispiness on the outside. I don't know if y'all can tell how excited I am. Yay! These are good. Okay, so I'm going to kind of scrape off the more cooked cornmeal there. Put a little bit of new cornmeal on. It always smokes a little bit, so don't worry. Every now and again, you get one that kind of deflates, but while it's cooking, it's gonna puff back up. It may not return to its former glory, but it's not gonna be bad. You didn't do anything wrong. We're moving dough filled with air, so it's gonna do that. I think cooking with the lid over it helps it kind of inflate, I guess. The key to try not to do that, this one stick to the bottom of my pan because I didn't have as much cornmeal as did this one. So it's sticking to the bottom of this, but you'll see it'll come back up. So just really make sure to put enough cornmeal underneath. All right, I'm starting my timer. 5 minutes. Okay, we're about to pull the last ones off. And these were the two that were squished, and you see they puffed right back up. There is a little indentation here, but I mean, that's fine. So I have baked, would you say baked? Skillet cooked? All of these. And I'm trying to make it look pretty and stack them. Usually I would just put them back on a cookie sheet and let them cool so they don't kind of squish in. But as I've been doing it, they've been cooling along the way. But how exciting is this, right? We just made English muffins. Like, get your sausage and bacon and eggs ready. Get your preserves and your jams and jellies ready. You've got breakfast and lunch, and actually we're going to have this as a snack later today. So I'm so excited. It tastes so good. It smells good. They toast lovely. They just like your regular English muffins you'd be used to. And for any of y'all who have been doing this forever with the freshly milled flour, good on you. Be excited with me that I got into the bandwagon. And for those of you who haven't made it, try them. They're so easy. They're so much fun and they taste good. And it's, you know, it's about the same time as baking bread in the sense that you mix it. It's an hour rise, shape it, half-hour rise, and then you're going to bake it. And usually I would use 2 pans on my stove and just, you could get them done really fast. But for this video, for this angle, this old Bessie's got to work for me here. But I just can't get over how lovely, how good they are, and how quickly they get gobbled up. But I have not yet, I can say, frozen the dough. And I don't think I would, because like when you get them shaped, and then you let them rise, or even just when you get them shaped, it's such a light dough. I don't know that it would freeze well then, but if any of you want to try it, let me know how that'll work. I just don't have high hopes for that. However, once you make them, they do freeze excellent, and it freezes well if you open it up with a fork, not a knife, and you know, make a little sandwich, or just freeze it and have all your sandwich ingredients ready to go. They freeze beautifully and toast right back up. You could put it in your toaster if it has a little defrost setting on it right out of the freezer, or just throw it on the counter when you first get up and then get to it when you're ready. But oh, these are a great treat. I guess I can't really say quick treat because it's about the same time as bread loaves, but I think it's worth it. I'm so excited. I hope y'all try this. I hope you enjoyed as much as we do and get as excited about it as I do. Maybe not, maybe I'm ridiculous, but thank you for joining me this week and baking this with me. Thank you for watching and all your comments, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm praying for y'all. I hope you have just a blessed week, and I will see you next week. See you later.